All right. Well, hello, everyone. It is me, and we are probably in the summer. If you're watching us, I'm not sure when HISD actually, I think it's next week. Yep, it is next week. Well, a lot of school districts this week and next week, they are starting off their summer. So school's out. And I know my son is out. My daughter, she's 3, so she's still going into the little school that she goes to. But it's kind of scary for parents, especially like newer parents, because you don't want your child to be behind, and summer's like a fun time. You don't want to be too strict. I mean, these are all the things that go through my head. And it's just like, what are you supposed to do? And I think back to what my mom did, and it wasn't like, here's a sticker chart, Rashi. It was like, you're going to the library and picking out 5 books, and then you're going to be reading in your room. And, I feel like that's what a lot of times parents do. But there's some parents that are more involved. You can make things so much more fun. And there's so many resources. And what's great is Megan Clanahan, who's with Houston Moms Blog. I think they still call it Houston Moms Blog. Is that correct? I think so. Or is it something different? Let me go ahead and bring the panel in. We have some amazing moms. So we have Andrea, Becca, Elizabeth. Go ahead and let me know. Did I mess that up?
It's now Houston Moms.
It's just Houston Moms.
We dropped the blog.
Okay, I didn't totally mess it up because I was like, I'm pretty sure there was. Okay, so Houston Moms. It's great. And I really encourage all of you all to look at the website, the blog. There's always articles written there. One that kind of caught me was reading and how to continue the education throughout the summer. And so thank you 3 for joining me today. And you have kids all from, you have from 1 year old, which they're probably not reading right now. If they are, well, that's a whole nother story. And to 17. So first off, I was going to start with you, Andrea, because you have a 17-year-old, 14 and 11. So how?
Yeah, I'm the old mom.
Well, you look fabulous. We would all agree. How would you? What are some of the hardships you've had in terms of trying to continue that education throughout the summer?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it on the head. It's that whole balancing act, right? Which I hate that word, balance, because I don't believe in it. But trying to figure out, okay, how much fun do we need to have? How much school? I don't want you totally forgetting how to read, and trying to figure out like how to figure, how to do all of the good things and not be a cruise director. I think that's important too, because we don't want to go nutty. So for us, it's, I've always chosen like one book that we read as a family together. And that's always been fun. It's, one book in the summer we read aloud. And if we're on vacation or if we're just at home, we can kind of join together and read together. Most of my kids have always loved that. Actually, all of them have. But and as they've grown, they still it's just been like an anchor in our life. So it's just something that we've done. And we've always done a lot of these little reading programs that they have across the city, which are just so engaging and so fun. And they have rewards. And I'm not above bribing my kids, even for myself, so.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I mean, you kind of have to do what you got to do in all those instances. And so I was going to ask, so Elizabeth, your kids are a little bit younger, 12, 10, and 7. You're kind of like in the thick of it where they're reading like obviously chapter books and stuff. Do you just take a lot of trips to the library, or what's your strategy?
We do. All my kids have their own library cards, and that really motivates them because, they can take ownership of their own reading and that kind of thing. So we go to the library a lot. They pick out books that we can read together, books that they can read on their own. And we also do a lot of audiobooks. They all have the Libby app on their tablets, and that's what they do at night. They put on an audiobook, set their sleep timer, and that's how they fall asleep. My daughter's really into crafts and, just doing things with her hands. So she can do her arts and crafts while she's listening to a book. And that's how she really likes to take in books. And as do I. I do a lot of audiobooks too. So we do that together.
One thing that I'm curious about is you don't want to make it seem like a chore. Like, okay, you can only do this if you do this for 5 minutes, or you So how are you making it more enjoyable, maybe for a child that isn't loving reading the book?
I never use reading as a punishment or you have to sit here and read whatever 2 chapters before you go to the pool or whatever. We don't do that. They know that I love to read, and they see me. That's something I do because I want to do it, not because I have to do it. So when we're surrounded by books, surrounded by words, it's something that they just naturally want to do. And if you guide them in picking the right stories, my 7-year-old has been obsessed with Diary of a Wimpy Kid since about September of this year, so a whole entire school year. And that's pretty much all he does is read or listen to those books over and over and over. And I think that's okay. He's enjoying it. He's practicing his reading. He's listening to great stories that make him laugh. He gets excited when he finds one that he doesn't own in the library. So pointing to them to books that they enjoy, that they want to pick up, not that they feel like they have to, I think is really important.
Is it better or easier, or you're indifferent on whether you're reading to your child, you're reading together, or you're reading separately?
I think we do all three. I don't read to them as much as I used to when they were really little and weren't independent readers. But still, that is a special time that when we are reading together, when we're enjoying the same book. And, when we go on not long car trips, but a couple hours, we'll put on a book and listen to it together so we all can get that, joint reading experience. But then I like them to do it on their own too, because I want them to learn that that's something that they can do to calm down, to relax, and to also have fun enjoying a good story.
Yeah, definitely. For people who get car sick, you really can't read in the car. Like myself.
Yes.
I put off all things to do with electronics and everything too. All right. So, Becca, what is your strategy going into the summer?
So my kids are 6, 3, and 1. So really only one of them is actually reading. He just learned this year. So our plan is kind of just to go, as Elizabeth said, we go to the library pretty frequently. I have tons of books in the house. We listen to audiobooks on car drives and things like that. And then I established something a couple of years ago that has kind of helped us read together as a family. During quarantine, we did an afternoon tea time where I would make snacks and tea, and then I would read a book to the kids. And that's how, kids can comprehend words listened to at a level higher than they can read themselves. So that was how we were able to read chapter books and things like that and introduce that to our kids that way. And that was really fun and motivating for them because they got a snack and a book at the same time. And that was fun.
Yeah, that is so cool. Well, I'm going to see if we can show the actual article because it has a bunch of great information, which I'm hoping to put up here. But in the meantime, I was going to ask, so on vacations and stuff, do y'all take books as well?
Yeah, we do, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And how do you do the Kindle version, or are you doing the actual books?
Both for us, I think, and it depends on the trip. Or if it's a beach vacation, there are definite real books in my bag. Well, there's always different books in my bag, and for the kids, I think my older one likes audio. My middle one has Kindle Unlimited, so she's my reader. So she's the easy one. I've taught her to keep a book in her bag, so she always does. And and for my younger one, she's 11, and sometimes she'll have a book, sometimes she won't. It just depends where we're going, what we're doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think I have this here. I hope our audio still works, but can you hear us? Yes, you can. All right. So here's some of the resources. Let me know if any of y'all want to jump in on kind of, because all of you all are contributors and kind of the resources on Houston's or mom blog or Houston Moms.
So we're part of Harris County Public Library, so we'll definitely be participating in their reader program. It's kind of fun because this is it's for little kids too, but this is the first year my son will be able to actively participate on his own. Mm-hmm. And then I learned from this article that Pizza Hut Book It is still a thing, which I did as a kid and was very excited about. And my son will 100% be motivated by a little personal pan pizza. I mean, who would not? So.
Yeah, and Chuck E. Cheese also does something as well. I didn't even know about that. That's so cool. Well, is there any last tips you would give parents? I will say, I have to admit, so I don't really like reading, and I think that was because I'm like trying to fix what happened, but I think it was because it was like, you need to read, you need to go read kind of thing. So it was always like not a fun thing for me to do. And but now, yes, I do read the teleprompter, but that's a whole different thing. This isn't like enjoying reading here, but I'm really also learning with my kids to, one, me being so OCD about like cleanliness, like get messy. And so in this parenting journey, it's like I'm learning all this stuff. One of them being also picking up a book and reading for fun, which I've always read for class or whatever. So for those of you out there that are like, well, I don't really actually like to read. I mean, I can relate to you, but I can also tell you that I would say starting last year, because that's when my son was 5 and we would read like the regular, kids books, but more of like learning how to read, and he would want to see mommy read too. So I learned to pick up books from the library that I thought I might like. And it really is this whole nother world that you're missing out on as an adult, I would say, by not being able. I mean, there's so many genres, there's so many things out there, and it's just so amazing that I think that I kind of like deprived myself of because of whatever reason, not thinking that I would like it. So my advice to parents would be to, if you don't like to read, give it a shot for fun. And that's a whole different type of reading than being told to read. And I know that there are a lot of parents out there that think they're too busy to whatever, but just put down the phone. Don't have to look at Instagram. Don't need to text all your girlfriends and all of that. It's like, I put that aside and I'm just present with them, right next to them with a book. And it makes the world of difference. But if Andrea, you want to give your advice to parents before we go, that would be great. And I'll ask you to Elizabeth and Becca.
So, I think I said earlier, making anchors in our day. I love that Elizabeth's kids read at night. That's something, my kids aren't allowed to have their phones in their rooms at night. And so it's a great time for them to pick up a book. We encourage that. We always have baskets of all kinds of books around. Another thing is, for when my kids were smaller, and actually still to this day, especially during the summer, the days are long. I always set aside just as anchor right around 2:00 of everybody's going to their room and you're going to read or rest or just have quiet time and mommy needs this especially, to just be. And so I always encouraged reading at that time, because, get in your 20-30 minutes of reading. And after that, you can play with your Legos or you can play whatever quietly in your room. And then you can have a snack after that. So, I kind of always established those things in their day. It was just a normal pattern of our day. I think a lot of times we get out of routines and rhythms during the summer, and we kind of have to be really cognizant about that, because the summer is long, the days are long, and we need the kids to be quiet for a little while. At least I do. And so that was always just something that I really insisted upon from the time they were small. I taught that, just let's go to our rooms and everybody chill, read a book, listen to an audio, whatever it is. And then, I think what you said was great. Like, there's so many genres out there. My son, when he was about 13, realized he loved biographies. I'm not a biography reader, but he loved reading about people's lives and, interesting, fun people, from sports people to historical figures. And so just finding out what you like to read, it's just, you're constantly on that hunt. And once you discover it, it's a whole new world. So
yes, it really is.
Yeah.
All right. What about you, Elizabeth?
Well, I think the number one way to get your kids to love reading is for them to see you loving reading. And so, I think there's a lot of ways as an adult that we can enjoy reading that isn't just, going to the library and getting and like Andrea said, figure out what you like. Like, I love serial killer thrillers. I mean, I just do.
Okay.
And Megan, our owner of Houston Moms, loves spicy romance novels. And we talk about all the time, we are not ashamed to love what we love. And that's what we love to read. And we joke about it. So, it might take you a while, but just figure out what you like and don't be ashamed of that. I know Colleen Hoover is huge on TikTok right now, and because she's getting teenagers to pick up a book. And, a lot of people are shaming people. Oh, you shouldn't be reading Colleen Hoover because she's, not this great, literature, but hey, that's okay. If they're reading, right?
Yeah.
And so once you find what you like, I think, reading begets reading. You keep on doing it, and then your kids see that and they get excited to find what they want to read. So
is it like actual serial killers, by the way?
No, mostly fiction.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
because like I gravitate towards like the Netflix with like the mind of a serial killer, and I'm like, why am I like fascinated by this?
Yeah,
This is
I know, it's
really
fascinating.
weird.
Yeah, well, there's a book for that.
Well, I don't know if I'm gonna sit next to my 6 and 3-year-old with this like serial killer book, but but the point being, there's genres for everything, and yes, it's really funny. And Becca, you may be able to relate. So my 3-year-old and 6-year-old, we all sit down and read together, and of course my 3-year-old, my 6-year-old's he's a boy, 3-year-old's a girl, and she's like, and I'm reading about princesses, and the whole thing is all made up, her story, and she's loud with noises, all this, and he's here trying to actually read. And so then they get in a fight, and it's a whole situation. But when you read with them individually, I think that also has to be the case sometimes too. And I'm sure you've had to, like, with 3 kids, all 3 of y'all have had to separate them. You can't just all read together. Because it can be challenging, and I want to bring that out too, that it's not easy to do this. Like, it is hard, I would say, in the beginning, and I'm sure later on too, but your techniques are kind of different. So Becca, is there any advice you would give parents?
In terms of that, yeah, with like kids crowding around you and not being able to, like, you imagine like sit down and read and like have a whole book together, and it's nice, and like it's so glorious. Like, that does not happen regularly.
Right.
Like, I'm interrupted constantly in a book. But I follow this site, Read Aloud Revival, which is really great for like encouraging read alouds with your kids. And it will talk about, like, if you just read like 5 minutes a day with your kids, like, think how much that adds up over a year, or 10 minutes a day. And it's like, you think you're not reading very much, but over time, like, look how many books you've read, look how much time you spent reading with your kids. And it's like, you don't have to sit and read like a whole novel or a whole like long picture book or whatever with your kids to like have that time of connection and reading. You can, get through a few pages and you're like, okay, well, everybody's done listening, so we'll move on to something else. Or even like have art projects in the background for them to, like, as Elizabeth said with her daughter, like, do with your hands while you listen to a book. So it doesn't have to be like the sit down and read. It can be play with Legos while I read this story aloud to you. And like, maybe we'll get through a few pages, maybe we'll get through the whole thing. But all reading is good reading, as Elizabeth said earlier.
Yeah, definitely. And these were some tips that were on the story there. So watching YouTube recordings of favorite stories. There's the Scholastic Storybook Treasures channel, which is really nice. Access books on an iPad through the library's ebook lending system. I know many of you are talking about Libby, so that's something that we'll put on the website as well. Trying audiobooks, that's huge. Like, I don't think we had those like as available when we were growing up. I mean, they were like in the plastic bags, right? In the libraries. Like, that nobody wanted. It's like,
so much easier now.
Yeah, I know, really easy now.
Audiobooks are available through Libby as well, which is
cool. Oh, cool. That's awesome. And I didn't know that any resident in Texas can be part of the Harris County Library, which is
I
really
didn't know that either.
Join the kids. Kids love to compete with their parents. Obviously, that's like older kids, which that would be really cool too. Play summer reading bingo. I think that's so fun because bingo is like for really even younger children to older. And then downloading a reading scavenger hunt and use the library to find the books. I think that's a really great idea too. I want to thank you 3 ladies for coming here and joining me. I know that this is very insightful, just different perspectives, different stages of parenting, and knowing that we're all in it together. It's like school is out, so teachers are like, but all the moms are like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Oh.
I know. So good luck to all the parents. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us for this edition of Parent to Parent. Good luck this summer. We'll have more stories and more ways to survive the summer successfully throughout the summer as well.